Welcome to another episode of Me, My Wife, and Sports. This is actually a special episode, what we call our fantasy draft postseason. And I'm here with a special guest who participated in the draft. He goes by the name of 85 Bears, but we all know him as Rob. Rob, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you. All right, we just completed our draft, fantasy draft, which you've been part of for, about 14 years.
Yeah.
And you never won.
Yeah. Well, there's that.
So tell us, how did your draft go this go around?
Well, with 14 years of losing experience, staring me in the face, it's kind of hard for me to predict how well it went. I mean, Yahoo credits me with probably finishing in fourth and a 9-5 record. So that's pretty decent.
But you had some bad luck in the past. I remember when you had the first number one pick, and it was with LaDainian Thomas. And did he get hurt? I believe
there was some reason why he was unable to perform.
Right.
It was quite
and he was coming off a great season. And last year you had the number one pick.
Yes.
And you picked Aaron Rodgers, and we all know what happened with that one.
Exactly. And I think that's a fair expectation to have, is that injuries can just change your season. I mean, when your first overall pick goes down the fourth play of the season, well, then that means, especially when it's a quarterback, because that means you're going to have to now use someone as a quarterback who was in the basically in the garbage can that nobody else picked.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So
this go round, I think you might have did a little bit better. And just for the listeners to know that Rob is a Bears fan. Let's not hold that against him. Okay. But he is a diehard. But I think he might do better this season. He still has a long way to go because, your boy Fitz has 2 trophies from 2011 and 2023 and a ring to go with it from Fantasy League. And hopefully I can keep that streak and do a repeat.
Well, let me just say for the Me, My Wife, and Sports fans out there that it's probably no surprise by now for those who've been listening and tuning in just how much Fitz and Darci are Cowboys fans. It amazes me because if you know any Cowboy fan, they love to tell you about 5 rings. Correct me. Is it not 6?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for him to just correct me.
I figure you'll correct yourself.
They love to talk about 6 rings, though there hasn't been. Anyway, I think in 2025 that makes it 30 years, if I'm not mistaken, since you. So that's ancient history.
Well, let me just ask you this one question: who's the most profitable NFL team?
What has that got to do with anything?
It's all about dollars.
No, I think it's all about winning. I mean, that's what us real fans.
Yeah, for fans.
Value.
But when it comes down to the owners, it's all about dollars.
Well, Jerry Jones ain't writing me no check, so
he's entertaining.
I don't care that Jerry Jones is getting richer. I want my team to win. And people like me who are Bears fans who basically have had our butts handed to us for so many years, but we proudly still boast to be Bears fans. And I know that's not what today's topic is about, but since we're talking
that's
about
okay. We can divert a little bit. We this is a 30-minute show, so we can divert. But all right,
we're just qualifying your comments,
right?
Being that you're a Cowboys fan, that you're biased against every other team that's out there.
And Rob is a true fan. He's sitting here in his outfit with the Bears shirt on. And just so you know, even when the Bears were like
3-13 just 2 years ago.
he is with them. And I tell you, out of all the friends that I have, Rob takes his team serious. He's also an Alabama college fan.
Roll Tide.
But
Roll damn
if
Tide.
the Bears are doing bad, even if the Alabama's doing bad, Rob gets so focused. There was times when he'd just get in his car and go driving because he just couldn't take it. But he's much better. And there's light in the end of the tunnel for the Bears this season, I think. I think they have a good quarterback. They made some good moves. So we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, let's go to your fantasy. Today you had the 14th pick in the draft that we were doing.
7th.
Oh, 7th. That's right, because I was 6th. I was thinking of, I think Darci was 14. But who did you pick as your first pick and why?
Well, good question. As a result of last year's debacle by picking a quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, first overall, and then having what happened. This year I went with Patrick Mahomes first of all.
Which is a safe pick.
Yeah, it's a safe pick. And in transparency, I actually did pick Aaron Rodgers for my backup quarterback. So
He still has something to prove for him.
yeah. So during the bye week, I think that's going to pay off for me. So I'm happy about that. But why? Why did I go with a quarterback first? Well, in my calculations, and I don't know what the experts say. I think the experts recommend going with wide receivers or running backs first. You know, quarterbacks get you your most points.
Right.
And so why wouldn't I pick the person who's going to give me the most points first, you know? And for Mahomes, even when he has an off day, off game, if you will, which is rare, but it happens, you know, he's still probably going to get me 20, 25 points.
Easily. Yeah.
You know, so that's money in the bank.
Yeah, I put him and Josh Allen in the same category.
Yes, agreed. And so that's been my routine, my practice every year.
Okay.
Is to go with a quarterback first.
Well,
but that hasn't worked out very well.
I was going to say, when did you make that change? Because when you picked LaDainian, I think that was about, 8 years ago, maybe?
About closer to a decade ago.
Yeah. And
because of that, that's why.
and it's more of a passing game now in the NFL.
Exactly right.
So, you know, because even in our drafting, I was looking, the running backs took a minute before they went. Some people picked them the first and second round, but most of them went the third round almost.
Right.
Now, that was your first pick. My first pick was a quarterback as well. I picked Lamar Jackson. Why?
That's who I was going to pick, but Fitz picked right before me.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. I was going to take Lamar Jackson, but I'm not disappointed with having Patrick.
Right. And to be fair, you know, I don't know what receivers you picked. Hopefully there were receivers that are on the same team as Patrick Mahomes, so you can get double the points.
No, that wasn't my.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't my science at all. That wasn't my logic at all. There were two receivers that I
Hold on before you go to that.
Sure.
Who was your backup quarterback that you picked? Because in this league, we get to pick 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
or you actually can pick many as you want, but most people pick 2.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, as I told you.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers, that's right. Which is not bad because you won't lose anything once the bye week plays in.
Or if either of them gets hurt. If Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, I'm just not that disappointed having Aaron Rodgers in my staff.
Yeah. He's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Now, okay, your second pick.
My second pick was a wide receiver.
Okay.
And I went with Cooper Kupp. Yahoo is kind of questioning that too. But
who is he with? LA?
Yes.
Chargers?
Yeah. No, the Rams.
Rams. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a competitive division. I think that good grief, the quarterback for the Rams escapes me right now. That's not Stafford, is it?
Yes.
Is it Stafford?
No, he's the Chargers.
No, he's not.
You sure?
Chargers. Yeah.
So who's the Chargers quarterback? Because if it's,
it's not.
who's the coach for the Rams? I'll tell you if you tell me the coach.
It's the young guy.
So it is Stafford then. Rams
Yeah.
Quarterback is Stafford. Yep.
Yeah. I think Cooper's going to be his wide receiver one. He is definitely that go-to guy.
Right.
I mean, he's older now, but he's Mr. Hands. He's Mr. Reliable. Right. And that's really what I look at when I'm picking, wide receivers is who's going to be the probably go-to. And when I'm looking at the profiles of the different players, I look at targets.
Exactly.
How often is this person being targeted?
Right.
And regardless of maybe what his actual end numbers are, the targets tell me how comfortable a quarterback is with a particular wide receiver.
Right.
So, and then it's up to the wide receiver to make magic happen. Right.
Right.
If he's being targeted 100 times a season, okay, all right, and with a guy like Cooper Kupp who can get good yards after catch, good yak numbers, that makes a really big difference.
Which makes sense, and I use the same process as well. Whereas, for example, I picked Zach Ertz, Washington's tight end. They got a rookie quarterback. Ertz is a veteran, and when all else fails, who is he going to dump it to?
Exactly.
Yeah, and those yards add up.
Well, they do, and tight ends are on a different scoring schedule, if I'm not mistaken, than wide receivers are. Right. So so a tight end doesn't. If a tight end gets 50 yards, that's still a good game.
Oh heck yeah!
50 yards and one touchdown.
That's exactly.
That's a good day for a tight end.
That's why I'm hoping Kittle does well for me. Because if Brian Ayuk leaves, that's just going to open it up even more for Kittle.
Purdy has San Francisco has a lot of targets.
Yes, he does. From.
He can spread the ball around
from Debo to Kittle to whoever else he has. But
which transitions to my tight end pick, which was Pitts out of Atlanta, Kyle Pitts.
Oh, okay.
And that's because Kirk Cousins is a high percentage throwing quarterback, and he's more concerned with not throwing interceptions than he is going for the deep ball.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that means he will likely.
Well, the problem I have with Cousins, and I go back to something you told me when Cousins was with Washington. Cousins holds the ball because he's looking for that wide open guy.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to throw it when somebody's covered and try to thread the needle or even just lay it out there. He's looking for that guy who's wide open. That's why he got sacked, in my opinion, based off what you were saying with Washington, even though they didn't have a great line, but he just held the ball too long.
And I have every reason to believe that he's going to play it safe because Atlanta drafted Michael Penix Jr.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And, they surprised everyone when they took that kid with, I think, the number 12 overall pick.
And Cousins is older, too, so they need to start preparing for the future.
So the $150 million, I think it is, that he got and whatnot, which is, I don't know.
He has a hell of an agent. Every deal he goes to, he works it.
So he knows that his successor is standing over there on the sideline, just waiting for him to get folded up.
Right.
And so what is he likely to do when you know that your successor has already been picked? You got $150 million. I forget how much of that is guaranteed.
Right. You're not going to take a lot of chances.
No, you're not going to take a lot of chances. You're going to take the high percentage throw.
Right.
And I suspect that's going to be the tight end.
Which makes sense.
That was part of my idea.
As long as he stick to that and don't get a little cocky on his side. Yeah. So my second pick was a wide receiver, which was Amari Cooper, who I had last year. The only concern I have about that pick is the quarterback. I'm not sold on, I think it was Watson or Jameson, one of the two.
Deshaun Watson.
And I'm just not sold on him because I don't know has he even played a full season?
Not since he was at Watson hasn't played a full season since he was he at Houston before?
I think so, yeah, because, yeah.
I mean, so on the one side, he should be 100% healthy.
Correct.
Because,
And they're paying him a lot of money.
Right. He had all that guaranteed money.
Yes, he does.
He really didn't deserve, in my opinion.
So let me ask you this. Who is your running back? Who did you pick for your running back?
For my running backs, my starting running back is Najee Harris.
That's a good one.
And my logic behind that is not because, and actually Yahoo actually sort of downgraded me because I made that pick.
Wow.
But yeah, because they said that I forget what some point average is lower. I picked him because of the uncertainty at quarterback
Right.
for the Steelers between Justin Fields and
See, and I don't know if Yahoo, when it does its algorithm, whether they're taking into account the quarterback and I'm pretty sure they probably taking in whether this team throws more or runs more.
Right.
But I'm not sure what they else they take into account, because I think you and I, or as humans, we take into account the emotion side of things, meaning whether or not this guy is a true leader as a quarterback, to throw the ball to the right person or to hand it off, or does this guy still have steam in his tank?
I think you keyed on something when you said algorithm, because that has a lot to do with the grades that Yahoo reports. So you look at if Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Hold on, before you even say that, when we're talking about the grades in the fantasy, once everything is done, they give you a final grade on your draft picks. And I think, Rob, you got a D?
I got a C.
C? Okay, I got a D minus. So, yes. But last year I got a D, and I won the whole thing. So,
well, there's going to be ceaseless plugs for
yes, it is.
And even though it's just the two of us in the studio at the moment, he's got this big, giant, glassy, cubic zirconia championship ring on that he just purposely keeps sticking in my face. So, but
show him what he can strive for.
It'll be at my house this year. But as I was saying, so Yahoo's algorithms, if according to the depth chart at Pittsburgh right now, Wilson is still a QB1.
Right.
Okay. So if a computer is looking at Russell Wilson's history, his biography, everything that he's done, they're going to see him as a passing quarterback. All right, which means you're not necessarily going to be handing the ball off that often.
Right.
Okay. Conversely, Justin Fields, who they're probably not ranking as quarterback one, has never thrown. He hasn't thrown for 4,000 yards.
Right.
I'm not even sure he's thrown for 3,000 yards, and he was the Chicago's quarterback. So.
But he was running for his life most of the time.
Well, he was, but not because the line was necessarily bad, just because that he just didn't have the skill set to feel confident in the pocket.
Right.
But the bottom line is, when you don't know or you're uncertain about the quarterback play, which Pittsburgh clearly is right now, and for the limited time that Wilson has actually thrown in the preseason, which was really only one preseason game, he's been out with a calf injury for quite a while.
And I think he's supposed to do this last preseason game.
Yes, yes, he is. He doesn't have a lot of time with the starters.
Right.
Russell Wilson doesn't.
Right.
So you don't know. I mean, just how effective his connection is going to be with his wide receivers.
Right.
So what does that normally look like? You either throw it to the tight end,
exactly,
or you hand it off to a running back.
Exactly.
And particularly in the red zone, you know what I'm saying? You're looking in the red zone, I see a lot more handoffs. I see a lot more running plays, i.e. running back one for Pittsburgh is going to be Najee Harris, and that's why I went with him.
Okay. Well, I went with Zeke for the Cowboys. And I know everybody's like, Zeke, what the hell is he thinking of? When the Cowboys got Zeke back, I think it was a little bit to appease Dak, but also to make him feel a little bit comfortable and open the things up a little bit. But in my opinion, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I think Zeke is going to get more touches in the red zone, and he will be scoring those touchdowns. Because all the backs they had in the past were a little bit lighter, and they weren't able to just plow up the line like your Pollard. He was if the hole opened up, he's gone. Even Dowell, who we still have now, he's a pretty good size, but he's not a Zeke. And he can bust through, but he's a little rough around the edges.
If you'd allow me, I like to take a little aside. Same topic,
Okay.
fantasy, but I'd like to offer for your consideration of discussion the tendency for fantasy managers to have that bias for their own team
Right.
players because you're following your team closer,
I am.
right?
I am.
And because I assure you that there probably is, you could have taken Zeke absolutely last. I'm not picking at you for
No, I
picking
agree.
Zeke, but you could have used your last round draft pick and still found Zeke, right? I have the same challenge with the Bears. You know, the Tennessee, I really did. I was like going to take Caleb Williams because I think that he has so many weapons around him and that he's going to be slinging that ball around.
But let me ask you this. How many Bears did you end up drafting?
2. And none of my starters are Bears.
Okay. See, I only draft one Cowboy, and that was Zeke.
But I have to correct that.
Okay.
I took DeAndre Swift.
He's a good player.
Yeah, and he's run back 1 for Chicago.
Yeah.
And he's going to catch the ball out of the backfield.
Exactly.
But see, why do I know that? So that's making my point.
Right.
I know that not only because I'm watching Hard Knocks, but because I am also following my team. Yeah, the Hard Knocks curse is going to be there, man.
That's worse than the Madden curse.
Yeah, I think it is. But I know that because I'm following that team closer.
Right.
And you remember during the draft when we were talking, I was asking you and Darci
Right.
about particular Cowboys players.
Right.
Who I don't know anything else about,
Right.
but I knew that you guys
Yeah, it's about Cook. I remember.
Yeah. So that's the topic that I was taking to the aside is that how much do you think that managers, fantasy managers, allow their own team bias to affect how they perform in the draft?
I think, depending on the person, give you a good example. Al, who has won several times. Actually, I think he's won 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. But majority of his team he's from Michigan. Majority of his team is always Detroit.
Right.
And they do well. But he favors Detroit.
Because they're doing well in fantasy.
Right.
Regardless of what they're...
Well, they did well this past season.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They lost to the Bears twice. I just want to put that out there.
And before that, they sucked. So he's a true fan. I give it to him. But I think you're correct because we tend to know our team players a little bit better, and so we see beyond the stats all the time. You know?
So now, how does that impact your judgment with regards to picking your team? Because again, this is fantasy football,
right.
You know, and so I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong,
right?
Because I have the same bias as everyone else. I just wonder if that bias has led me to not make the best choices, make the best picks.
And I was going to say, because with Dallas, I do know the players more so than the other teams, and I think I grade them a little bit harder than I need to. So I'm real hesitant on picking a lot of the players. You know, like a CeeDee Lamb, it's a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Dak during the season, he's always been productive passing the ball and getting yardage. But when we talk about getting over the hump, it's not going to happen. I don't care how long he stays back there. But I need, for fantasy purposes, I need somebody who I can count on consistently every down, every game. And with some of the teams I pick, I don't know. It's a flip of the coin. But with Dallas, I know, and it'll bother me. So that's why I don't pick a lot of them.
You know, this year, for the first time, what you're discussing right now, I'm actually going to share with you a thought that's regarding Dak. So another bias I have is against Cowboy fans. Mm. Not you and Darci, because y'all are legitimately 100% real fans. You've been at my house. I've been at your house.
Right.
I know what life is like when the Cowboys are playing, and especially when the Cowboys are playing the Bears. So
Exactly.
we've been together for that.
Exactly.
And we even went to Dallas together
Right.
to see a game.
Right.
But I confess that I've had this bias against Dak for that reason. And when I was doing my research this year, it turns out that Dak actually had numbers very comparable to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
In some areas, they actually exceeded.
Because I want to say he threw over 4,000 yards or something like that. So,
but I've been, but due to my bias, I've been unable to see that. I couldn't see past that. So this year, I actually had Dak in my queue. I wasn't going to tell you guys. If I didn't get,
I would have gave you a hard time on that one, boy.
I had Lamar Jackson first, Patrick Mahomes, and right behind him I had Dak.
Okay.
I was going to take him if he was available.
And I was going to take Dak as my backup because during the season, like I said, he's consistent.
Yeah. So that's just being transparent about another bias and what goes into it, and what goes into a fantasy manager selection that you to be effective. I think you have to put that aside. One of the other fantasy managers that happened to be at the draft with us together. You might know her.
Shalita.
Yes. I didn't know what name she used here. So she don't use any of that logic.
No.
And she kills it in fantasy. And so that's where it went to you and I talking about we tend to overthink it, don't we?
Right.
We tend to overthink it.
Right.
So
Now, we got about 5 minutes left, and one thing I want to talk about is what's going on with these holdouts. CeeDee Lamb in particular, as well as Ayuk for San Francisco and Chase for Cincinnati. And the one I want to start with is Chase, and the reason being because they're all on their first-year contract, but Chase, I think, has 2 more years on his, where the other two only have a year before their contract is up. Mm-hmm. So Chase is asking for big money with 2 years out. Mm-hmm. I think he's being a little presumptuous to do that so early. I don't know if he's holding out from practice or not. I'm not sure if he's even participating in workouts. But I think he should go ahead and play this season out to up his worth, to show that they need him. And then when his year is left after this season, go into those negotiations and ask for money like some of these other receivers. Because right now, he's asking for money like Justin Jeffries and some of the proven Jefferson that's proven themselves. And, you still on that first-year contract. You're on that rookie contract.
Yeah. I think he's playing the game. Yeah. Look, it gets really easy to forget that football is a business.
It is.
And so what he's doing now has absolutely nothing to do with his talent, his ability to win, him demonstrating his talent. He's a known product now. Yeah, it's his rookie contract, but didn't they go to the Super Bowl? I think they went to the Super Bowl, and I think he was wide receiver 1 when they did that.
Right.
So if I'm correct about that, then he's a proven commodity. Mm-hmm. The league now is all about, okay, what did that wide receiver get? He'd be foolish right now not to see what the heck happens with CeeDee Lamb. No, if Jerry Jones comes out here tomorrow and gives CeeDee Lamb $150 million guaranteed, well, now what do you think Chase is going to say? Look what they gave Joe Burrow. Look what they gave the quarterback. Yeah, his quarterback.
Right.
So
he's
I'm
in the top 5.
I'm going to make noise now. Okay, you guys need to understand that. I'm surprised that Jefferson got that much money when they traded when Minnesota traded away their quarterback, and now the kid that they drafted won't even play this year. Right. See, the dynamics just changed.
I wasn't even impressed with him anyway. To me, that kid.
Yeah, he's not ready for a team.
Michigan quarterback from college, and I'm a Michigan fan, and I've told everybody that, but he wasn't a top, in my opinion, first rounder quarterback.
No, he wasn't.
You know,
He absolutely
he
wasn't.
had a lot of players supporting him at Michigan, from the line to the receivers, and it just so happens he's the quarterback,
Yeah.
and that's who usually gets all the notoriety.
So my last thoughts are just simply that this is the way the game is played. Is that it's not about the game being played. It's about the business aspect of it. So,
Yeah. So we got about another minute before we end this show. And I, first of all, just want to thank you for joining this special episode of Fantasy. And just so our listeners know, we did have our draft today. And if you want to see or have any comments about what we've talked about, you can reach us at memywifeandsports at yahoo.com. memywifeandsports at yahoo.com. Leave comments, questions, or a topic you might want us to discuss. And you can also look at us on Instagram and Facebook, as well as Me, My Wife, and Sports at Buzzsprout, which is our website. All right. Any parting words, Rob?
no, I appreciate you guys having me over and to participate in this. They put on a really big show every year. It's exciting, and it comes with great food and incredible drinks.
And maybe one day you can have a trophy like mine with a ring.
Right.
All right. Thank you, listeners. And we'll see you soon. And Darci, my co-host, will be back at that moment.